What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. Tariff rebates, what happened to them? Where are they? Will we see a tariff rebate in 2026? I want to talk a little bit about this. We're going to take a look at this is, I believe, an economist from the Heritage Foundation, conservative outlet that's going to be talking about how they feel about tariff rebate checks. Should they be sending out tariff rebate checks? So we're going to focus on that in this video. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please like the video. And if you're watching this video and you want to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. Okay, the Heritage Foundation, the conservative think tank. What do they think about a stimulus check for the American people? Let me play the clip and we'll talk about it. Here we go.
All right, let's bring in Heritage Foundation Chief Economist EJ Antoni. We got a lot to chew on here, EJ. Let me start with tariffs, the tariff revenue, money coming in the door. That's good for a government that's running huge deficits. The problem is the big deficits each month are bigger than the tariff revenue. So you got this talk about rebate checks, $2,000. EJ, you're the economist. Put it all together. What should the government be doing with this money?
Well, Brian, I understand the impulse here and why you want to hand out money to people who are hurting right now. You want to provide them some relief. But we've been down this road before. When the government starts sending checks out to people where there's no tie-in, there's no incentive for working, you're not going to actually provide any relief. Sure, you get a short-term fix, kind of like a sugar high, but if you really want to provide relief to people, reduce the deficit.
And so you see already what they're talking about here. They're talking about paying down the national debt. Don't give the money to the American people, pay down the national debt. And overall, I guess what he's saying here, this economist is saying that would help people. But it's a hard sell. And it's a hard sell because people are struggling right now as a result of tariffs. So when you have people struggling as a result of tariffs, and then now you're talking about, well, we're not even going to help you. We're going to take that money, the taxes, because we need to face the reality, tariffs are taxes. So you're going to take that money, the taxes that the American people are paying, and you're going to pay down the national debt. Now, in the big scheme of thing, long term, that could help the American people by bringing down our national debt. But in the short term, you're not addressing the issue that people are struggling right now as a result of the policies, as a result of these tariffs. So prices are going up. People are having to pay these higher prices. And so how do you help those people who are currently struggling as a result of these tariffs?
Put that revenue towards reducing the deficit, and therefore the government's going to borrow less money. That puts less pressure on the loanable funds market, and therefore puts downward pressure on interest rates. That means people will pay less in interest on their credit cards. Mortgage interest rates go down. Student loans, auto loans, you name it. That's a way to provide real relief. If you want to give any kind of tax cut kind of incentive there, then make it exactly that. Make it a tax cut, specifically something that reduces marginal rates. Create an incentive for people to work more, to work harder, and to earn more, because that will then produce more, which increases the amount of products and services available. And again, that puts downward pressure on prices. That's a formula for bringing real relief to folks.
Okay, now, one of the things he talked about is some type of tax cuts for the American people. That would help. But the only problem is not everyone pays taxes. If you're at or below the poverty line, you're probably not paying taxes. And if you're not paying taxes, you're not going to benefit from a tax cut. And so the people who need it the most, the people who are struggling the most, and remember, their taxes have been increased. Okay, now across the board, if you have these tariffs going out, taxes are being increased on consumers, because ultimately how it works is you have a company in the U.S., they want to buy a product from another country. They have to pay that tariff when that product comes to the U.S. And so that company pays the tariff, they pass it on to the consumer, and the consumer pays it. And so you have people right now that their taxes have been increased, and they don't even really realize it. All they see is a price of items are going up. So their taxes have been increased. And now you're saying, well, we're not going to give you a rebate, but a good idea would be to provide some type of tax cut. But if you are in that situation where you don't pay taxes, you're still, you could still be working and not paying taxes, or you could be retired on a fixed income and not paying taxes. You're living at or below the poverty line. You're not in a situation, especially if you're retired and you're in your 60s, 70s, you're not in a situation where you can just go out and get a job. And so now you are paying more. You're not going to get that relief, that rebate check. And on top of that, tariffs are killing you because you have to pay more in these tariffs. So the prices, inflation has gone up. And so, I mean, all around, it's a bad situation. And you know, just listening to the Heritage Foundation talk about this, yes, they're conservative. They're talking about the fact that, yes, we shouldn't be sending out stimulus checks. And that's pretty common amongst what conservatives are saying right now. And here's a recent article from Axios, and it says Trump's $2,000 tariff checks shunned by Senate Republicans. So Senate Republicans, they don't want to move forward with some type of a stimulus for the American people. And when we're talking about the Senate, okay, so the House is a little bit easier because all you need is a majority. You get a majority vote and you can pass legislation. When it comes to the Senate, and we just saw this with government shutdown, when it comes to the Senate, they have a procedural vote where you need to get 60 votes. And in order to get those 60 votes, you're going to need Democrats to come on board, and you're going to need all of Republicans to come on board. So if you have Republicans right now in the Senate talking about they're not really in favor of some type of $2,000 stimulus check, do you really think stimulus checks are going to go anywhere? Because they have to get it past the Senate. And yes, the president can put some pressure on Congress, put pressure on the House, put pressure on the Senate. But that doesn't mean that just by the president putting pressure on the Senate that they're going to move on legislation. We saw during the government shutdown, there was talk of ending the filibuster. And the president said that we should be ending the filibuster. That didn't go anywhere in the Senate because Senate leadership said, no, we're not going to end the filibuster. And so just because the president says something doesn't mean that you're going to see action when it comes to the Senate and in the House. And so in this situation here, Congress doesn't have the appetite to move forward with some type of stimulus for the American people. And so we'll have to see if that changes in the future. But right now, it's not looking good for a $2,000 stimulus check for the American people. But I want to know what you guys think. Do you think the American people deserve a $2,000 stimulus check? Do you think it would help? Or do you think it would hurt our economy? Do you think it would raise inflation? All of that. Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more. And remember, stay informed, stay engaged, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye. So that's all we have for this video. Make sure if you guys want to send me an email, you can do that, david@thetecshow.com. Like the video, subscribe for more, and check out these videos over here for some more great content. Talk to you later. Bye.